Get heard out and loud. Stand out in the crowd. Get heard out and loud. Stand out in the crowd.
Welcome to another episode of Get Heard with Rajesh Thai. How are you doing, Thai?
Yeah, I'm great, Alan. Yeah, thanks for inviting. Yeah.
No worries. Good to have you in the show with us.
Yep, no worries.
Straighting the questions, as you're a psychology student,
Yeah.
and you're studying psychology, is that correct?
Yeah, it started as a hobby and everything that happened in life and personally, you have a lot of questions. I started with Eastern philosophy, a lot of questions didn't get answered. Being again engineering background student, profession. So I had to go in deeper in trying to understand what's happening in our brain when we're behaving in a certain way. So my interest is more human behavior.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our viewers will be confused. So can you take us through your journey as to where you started and you worked in certain corporation as an IT personnel, then how you moved on to different parts of your industry.
Yep.
Could you take us through that, please?
Yep. Okay. So basically, I came into Australia back in 1995, end of 1995. So it's been around 26 years.
Yeah.
So there were hardly many people, I guess. In terms of international students, there were a few hundreds, especially from Nepal. It was less than probably 100 back then.
Wow.
So I came straight to Sydney. I lived, all my younger days was around Bondi Beach. That's where I lived, because I always loved the water and all that lifestyle, and
Do you surf?
I do a bit of surfing, but I do more kayaking and a lot of swimming. It's part of my lifestyle. So basically, then you came here as a student.
Yeah. What did you study?
I initially studied bachelor in IT, major in software engineering.
Okay.
And then I did my master's in e-commerce, electronic commerce.
Wow.
So you have to imagine this thing, like when we come here, we didn't have the internet was just starting, okay? Obviously no mobile phones.
Yeah, I could imagine, because that's like back 20 years ago.
26 years ago. I'm not sure you were born.
I was just born. I was just shitting my pants. And you studied e-commerce back then.
Yeah.
And you must have seen how it developed over the years.
Yeah, so basically after I finished my bachelor in IT with software engineering, I got a job at IBM. So I worked for IBM corporate lifestyle for 12 years. So I worked here in Australia, then also I worked in Japan.
Okay.
We used to go training in Rochester in US. That's where the IBM headquarters is. So I did a lot of those kind of trainings. So so I had a good life in those corporate lifestyle. You're flying, corporate and all that kind of things, and all the facilities that come working for big companies like IBM.
What was your position in IBM?
I did multiple positions. I was initially, I started as a graduate, as a university graduate.
So were you one of those graduate program?
Yeah, I went through one of the graduate programs, and that's where I can relate to a lot of our IT students, especially Nepali IT students studying currently. It is tough to get in, like I remember when I applied back then, it was like 100 positions or something graduate, and there were like almost 3,000 applications.
Wow. Because that's IBM, there's a lot of competition.
Yeah, so like IBM is Big Blue, one of the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
They come, similar to Google, Microsoft,
100%,
and all that.
Even back in the day, they were even bigger.
Yeah, bigger. IBM was the initial, even before Microsoft and Google came in. IBM history is over 100 years old. They're the one who actually started with the PC, the personal computers, and all that. Like those kind of background. And in terms of where I want to relate with the young viewers is, you finish your studies, and it's a tough job market now with the IT, because we call it LCC, low cost country, because every company, big companies, even IBM and Google and everyone, they're trying to cut cost.
Mhm.
So majority of now the job is based in China or India, especially India is the hub for IT.
Yeah. So they're outsourcing all of the work there.
So Bangalore is like another Silicon Valley, or Hyderabad, all those places.
Nepal is turning into a IT hub as well slowly, I believe. A lot of foreign work is getting outsourced to Nepal as well.
Yeah. Now I think Nepal, to be honest, we have such a huge potential. We're just geographically we're located right in between China and India, and the two superpower economically are China and India now.
Yeah.
If we play it right,
Yeah.
it's a massive scope.
Yeah.
And whether it's a IT or we know there's so many entrepreneurs in Nepal, given the right policies by the government and the right environment to prosper. And there's massive.
I think that's where we lack. Government not providing proper platform and proper guidance, and that's where Nepal has to step up the game. Rather than we have a lot of talented people, technically they're very skilled and well spoken. So yeah, I think a lot of potential.
Yeah, definitely. And to my point about IBM, I just want to add this is I studied at CQ, Central Queensland University, where most of the
I think a lot of people can relate to that. Yes.
And we tend to think CQ is probably not as good as Sydney Uni or UTS or Wollongong, which are the more branded, the G8 they call it. But when I applied for IBM with that 100 positions, I was competing with all the graduates, local graduates here in Australia, the local Australian graduates.
So when you were studying, but when you were studying, how many Nepalese students were there with you in your class?
In my class, very few. I would say maybe 2, 3 at the most. And majority of them after they graduated, they went back home. Because we didn't really have a concept of PR back then. We just came to study. There was, we didn't have internet really. There's no migration agents or lawyers to go to. Yeah. We just came to have fun, study, enjoy life, and that's what we did. Yeah. We didn't, I ended up staying here because like my background. I met my wife, Australian girl, and all that, and then she wanted me to stay. She didn't want to go and live in Nepal, so I got caught up with all that. Otherwise, my plan also was to go back after a couple of years to study.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I think the whole concept had changed now. People, rather than coming to study and gain experience, they are more into settling and trying to just make a living rather than actually see what you can do back home. A lot of potential there as well. Anyways, yeah. So how was your corporate culture in IBM?
Look, there is a good and there is always the negative part of working in a big company like IBM. IBM Australia, the part of IBM that's in Australia called IBM Australia. Okay, so they had, when I was there, we had around 10,000 employees. Okay?
Where were you located?
I was located in a couple of places. One around St. Leonard's.
Okay,
and another one was the main is IBM at it's called Borkum Hills, West Pennant Hills. So and majority of the time we were allowed to work home. We used to call it telecommuting. So we were allowed to work from home because IBM wanted to save money on real estate.
Wow. Okay? Back in the day, we were working from
initially
home.
We started working from office, but then later they realized, people can work from home. When the internet came in and everything, they thought, okay, we'll let people listen. And that's how I ended up moving to Kiama, because I always loved water and all that. So basically, with IBM, like the positive side is it's a massive company. You have a lot of facilities. Like I said, they used to push us to go training to US, and I would, after a few trips, you would say, no, I don't want to go. I just, because every one time you need to go for training, you have to go for one complete month.
Okay.
And you just get, like at some point you've done it.
You're fed up.
You're fed up, and you say you make excuses not to go. You go to seminars to Japan, Tokyo, and all that. And after a few, and again, I was looking for like accounts. IBM, how they work with IT is they call it outsourcing.
Yeah.
So basically they look after like the account for Westpac, they will look after account for American Express, all these big companies, Nestle, Department of Education, all this. So I was looking after American Express, I was looking after Westpac, Unilever, Nestle, ING Bank, NAB.
They're all different clients.
Yeah, different
for IBM.
clients. Yeah, IBM.
Okay.
So I had to look after. I was given certain clients to look after, and I would have to look after. And I was mainly on disaster recovery. So which means my life was in a way cushy in the sense, unless there is a massive disaster, I don't come into play. That there is always first level support. I was more of a specialist in IBM.
When you mean disaster recovery, is it like a natural disaster or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So disaster recovery in the sense like we had 9/11 in America, right?
Yeah.
So something happened, or earthquake in Nepal, like we had. So we always in IT we talk about backup, redundancy plan. So fail safe in the sense, if this server housed in this particular location is completely wiped out, you can on the real time move along and have a redundant plan, which means fail safe plan in the sense that another location comes live. Okay? So that's how this cloud computing and everything works. You don't know where your data is stored.
Exactly. Exactly. It's everywhere. It's in the cloud.
Yeah, in the cloud.
Yeah. I think. Have you been much in touch with AI?
Yeah, I know. Artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. They're the couple of and blockchain.
Blockchain as well.
They 3 areas. I'm really. There's a lot of promises there.
Yeah.
And I think any international students or Nepali हाम्रो भाइ बहिनीहरू who are studying IT, they should do certification in AI, blockchain, cybersecurity. Because the cyber threat is always there.
No, I think it's getting major as well. Because data is growing in value, and people want to take your data. Yeah.
And in terms of just want to add job. Okay.
Yeah.
When you finish your degree, it doesn't matter where you study, whether you study Sydney Uni, CQU, whether you got high distinction or just average credit marks. I think credit average is good. Okay, don't really need to get high distinction. We always like to say one thing. Okay, what I find difference in between our Eastern kind of thinking from our more Southeast Asian thinking of students and our Western students is, in our culture we focus more on those marks on the paper rather than what we gain here.
Yes.
That's why we see creativity always happening in the West. Why? We always following the trend.
Yes.
The iPhone came in, created here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of now other companies copying that. But that's why I like to always focus, when you study, try to bring it more here rather than just in the paper.
Yeah, 100%. I feel with our education system as well, it's more like you study for 3 months, then you mug up the whole night. We did that as well. We try to mug up the whole book. We go there, spit it out, vomit. Next day you ask anything out of that question, we won't know anything. So that's truly lacking in our education. When I first came here and attended your tutorials and had assignments, it was totally different. We could study and we could work at the same time as well, and gain knowledge as well. But if we try to do that back home, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I think the definition of smartness and IQ as intelligent. I follow Sadhguru as part of my spiritual practice. Yeah, I love Sadhguru as well. He mentioned in one of his videos, we tend to label these people as a very high intelligent people for what they're doing. Like you mentioned, they basically literally ate this book and they vomited on the exam paper and got the highest marks, and we call them intelligent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There is much more to intelligent than just being a very high IQ.
Yes.
And like the saying goes, if you just capacity of a fish by climbing the tree, you're always gonna go wrong. But every single person of us has certain capacity within us. And it cannot be measured by just few hours of exam papers. I've always been a big believer on that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Moving ahead to, let's say, a different topic, more spiritual. Let's go. What has been your spiritual journey so far? Could you take us right from where you tried to figure yourself out? You started asking yourself questions. What were those questions? Where did you try to seek your answers? And where did that lead you? Could you take us?
Look, I want to relate to the young viewers again out there. Okay, get heard. I like the concept. All that. I go back to the beginning. You came here as a student, literally from Nepal. Come on, okay. We know we come from a middle class kind of family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have all these dreams, materialistic dream. When you come here, you want to have a car. You want to have a professional job, well-paid job, house. You know what I mean?
House with the big backyard.
Yeah, with all that kind of things. And I achieved all that. Probably by the time I was by 30, I had everything, more than I ever dreamt of. I had, to be honest with you, I had 3-4 cars that I could, was sitting around.
Yeah, you can only drive one car at a time.
I had like convertibles and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Beyond my dream kind of things. Job I had like with IBM, I was working from home, getting paid 6 figures, got to travel corporate, all that, first business class and all that. And this is beyond, you have certain dream, and this is already gone beyond, okay?
Yeah.
But then, some way, I think around 10 years ago, okay, it hit me, is this it? There's something missing. And I'm still not content. I have all these things materialistic. And I'm an Australian citizen and all that. I've been an Australian citizen for what? 15, 18, 20, almost 18, 19, 20 years almost.
Yeah.
You have all the perks that comes being an Australian citizen. I can fly anywhere. I was traveling. I've been to 40 countries.
Wow.
Done everything.
40 countries.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
the question basically then you ask, what am I missing here? And then the only way is look inward, And again, being from an engineering background, the mumbo jumbo gurus just doesn't gel with me unless there is something you really say, hang on, this is it.
Yeah.
So I met a lot of gurus. I read a lot of books on Buddhism, to try to figure out. Buddhism answered a lot of my questions. So I'm not religious, but I very strictly follow Buddhist principles in terms of kindness, compassion, and everything I do. From a place of kindness, So I always say to people, I have people come to me and say, look, you say kindness and compassion, but then the world is not that easy out there. And this is also, I also learned from trial and error. Initially, when I studied a lot on Buddhism, I became very placid. I used to be a kind of, not aggressive, but if I'll make a goal in every year, like this is how I used to do things. Every year, like New Year's, I make certain goals for my life. I want to achieve this. And by Christmas time that year, I would sit back and say, okay, what did I achieve? What did I didn't achieve? And what I didn't achieve? And that's how I used to move forward. Yeah. But, you get to a point where all these goals are made, you ticked all these, and you look inward, and all these, nowadays it's much easier. You have Facebook, you Instagram, you're bombarded with, videos from so many gurus and so many mentors out there. I follow Jay Shetty. I follow so many other guys, Gary Vee and all that.
Yeah, I love Gary Vee. He's a big idol of mine.
I follow him as well. And some people are very straight with Tony Robbins and all that. So there's so much thing. But when I was looking for answers, we didn't have all that. So I don't know even who to turn to. And I'm coming from Nepal again. We learned about Buddhists and all that. So I wanted to go back to roots. What am I missing? So I read all that books, then found a lot of answer. But then initially I became like, okay, I'm gonna. When I do something, I don't do it just for the sake of doing. I'm gonna do it to the T. I'm gonna follow very strictly. So basically, I did everything from the Buddhist principles. Like, I would not argue with anyone. If someone do some rubbish to me, I would still be nice.
Yeah.
but there was something missing in that sense. But I was being nice, but then I get hit back with even the people had this thing that he's not going to do anything. Let's just give him shit, kind of thing. And I said, this is not working. There's got to be something more. And that's when I again started studying psychology to understand the Western perspective, to gel it together, to bring it.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's where the psychology came from.
Yeah, the Western perspective I wanted to know in terms of what's happening in our brain when we're behaving in a certain way. And we can talk more about that.
That's more into human behaviors and how people react to the environment and all that.
I mean, I can give this one tip to the viewers again.
Please do so. I think we have a lot of young viewers and they would love a lot of answers as well.
So look, when we in life, okay, we're always gonna have issues and problems. We're always gonna come across people who's gonna be creating dramas. Life basically is a psychological drama. How are you gonna play it is up to you. You're gonna be really negative or you're gonna be positive. So like in my cases now, what I do is say, if especially in an intimate relationship or with a colleague or a friend, whatever, this applies everywhere in human behavior. We can't agree on every issues. Even two brother or two sister raised under the same, home, have a whole different perspective in life. Okay, so it's just when you come with your girlfriend or wife or whoever, it's not gonna happen. Okay, so the best way how I dissolve the situation and move forward is you listen to the other person's argument very seriously. Okay, especially if it's your intimate partner. Okay, you listen to their argument, and once they finish, and you can say, look, I respect your opinion on this particular issue, and here is my opinion on this issue. Now we can agree to disagree. We don't have to agree, and we can just leave it that. But it's from a mutual respect. You do not need to push the other person to agree to everything, because then one person might agree in terms of face value, but not really happy from inside. It's not going to work.
It's not. I think you don't have to come to a conclusion when there is say conflict. Okay. And do you say we need to listen more as well?
Listen more is important. We always, I guess, speak more because we already know what we know. When we listen, if I go to any seminars, okay, I go to a lot of seminars, I go and sit there for 3 hours. But if I learn even one thing, for me that's a worthwhile. Whether it's online videos or whatever, if I even come out of that with one thing, and that's always good. With the conflict, this tip I think another works is you have this imaginary boundary you need to put around you to safeguard your own health in the sense of mental well-being. Plus, it could be your physical position or whatever. So like what I normally do again is if someone is really aggressive towards me, trying to get back to me and stuff, I don't normally react. What I do is I always respond. Okay, once they cross that imaginary boundary I have around me. Okay, well they cross that boundary. Now I need to stand up to resolve this situation, not to hurt the other person, but resolve the situation. So you stand up and respond from a place of compassion, not to get back to that person. Just to resolve that situation.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, I am also a big fan of being able to listen to other people. I think that's very, very important. And especially now, people think just because they have Google and they have a lot of social media giving them information that's not even sometimes true, they think they know a lot. There's a lot of ego that build up and they say, man, I know everything. I think we need to be able to connect with people and we as a human are nothing compared to the whole world. We don't even know 0.00% of the whole universe. But I don't know where all this ego comes out from and all this builds up. Maybe that's part of being human.
I guess you're right there. I again listened to one video from Sadhguru, and he said in this, you need to say to yourself, I know nothing. We don't really know nothing. What we know is not even a speck in the whole universe. So we need to sort of not have this very strong attachment to our thoughts that what we think is right. We can be completely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? With everything we've been told, we've learned, you know what I mean? So have this always open mind, listen more, and try to grasp, you know, because every day science is also finding out new things about own human brain.
Yeah.
You know, before they used to think by 13, this brain circuit is just formed so concrete you can't change. Now we've realized that you can change the way your behavior pattern at any time. Of course, you need to reinforce the behavior a lot, you know, but you can still.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. What I know about how brain works and how our neurological, I can't pronounce the word, neurological, brain works is the more we focus on something, the more we tend to think that way. And we need to challenge ourselves, you know, we need to always say, you know, we need to broaden our horizon and we need to think more openly.
Yeah. The way, I guess from my experience again, you know, if any, again, our young viewers are trying to not happy with certain of the character, like it's strain. What happened with me is I'm still working on some of the negative behavior in my character as well. You know, I'm also a work in progress in so many ways, you know. But at the same time, I have made positive change impact in certain of my behavior and character that I wasn't happy with. And I can tell you, for one little behavior, it took me 3 years of constantly reinforcing. Okay, because how the brain works from everything I've read and studied and my personal experience is like we have a neural pathway, right? Neural pathway is like highways, and like say you are, how old are you now?
I'm 27.
Yeah, you're 27. So 27 of your years, the way you've been nurtured and you know the way you brought up and all that, this highway is set up in a way. Certain events happen that triggers certain response reaction, and you behave in a particular certain way.
Yeah.
So this highway, it's become like a lightning speed. It's on autopilot, literally. You know, this happened, bang. And especially in an intimate relationship, your girlfriend says something to you, and if you are kind of aggressive, you bang, react that way. But if you want to change, you know, like if you really care about your partner and you want a long term and all that, what you can do is instead of reacting, you can take a step back and respond. And I say this to a lot of people is if it's you especially intimate relationship, once you start having argument, it can really quickly turn into very emotional thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what happens again when you become emotional? This prefrontal cortex, we call it, in the main rational brain goes offline. And you have inside your brain, they call it amygdala. It's like a memory bank, unconscious memory bank. Everything you experience since you're a kid, it's all been stored there. So when the prefrontal cortex, the rational brain goes offline, amygdala comes into it, gets activated. And sometimes you've seen people, you know, you say, oh, I know that friend of mine, he's not like that, but you heard that he behaved in a very different way than he normally does. You know what I mean? And that's where it's coming from. Some ways, down to his childhood, nurturing, or whatever, 28, 29 years, something he has experienced, he didn't even realize that's been stored in, that's coming in play during that emotional time. So it's so important, especially in relationship, when you're in that emotional conversation, interaction, argument, fight, whatever you want to call it. If you can't stand back and take a step back and respond rather than react, you take yourself off for 10 minutes, go for a walk. Come back when the rational brain is back in play. And then more talk in rational manner.
I think a lot of those big decisions are taken when you're emotional and full in rage, and you just want to win, out of, because you spend a lot of time with your partner and a lot of things builds up. It's very tough to spend so much time with another human being, I believe, because we have our own opinions, we need our own space, and I think that leads to a lot of fights.
I mean that's always the thing. We say in psychology, when you read a lot of literature, every mental health issues as an adult, it doesn't matter how old you are, 30, 40, whatever, has some way linked to your childhood upbringing. Something somewhere went wrong. whether with your parents were divorced or you constantly saw your parents fighting, the child and the amygdala is constantly recording without you even consciously realizing. It's unconsciously recording everything as a child, and that's why with those emotional interaction that comes into play. And you sometimes realize you have seen your father and mother fight, right? And you said, I will never behave like my father or my mother. That's never going to be me. But then during the fight with your intimate partner, you behave exactly like your father or mother.
Exactly the same, yes.
You think, where did that come from?
Exactly, That's
where the amygdala is.
Yeah, it has happened to me so many times as well. Like now when you said it, like I tend to do certain thing, and wow, this was what my dad actually did. Wow, it's crazy. So you're trying to say when you're emotional, your amygdala kind of
gets activated.
Kicks in.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that why we get very emotional when we're talking about our past relationships and something like when you remember you're heartbroken? Is that connected in a certain way?
Of course, like I always say this, like healing. When you have lost people, especially people who are very close to you. There's the emotional attachment. It's not a tap. You turn on today, turn off today. People say, "Oh, get over it. Find another girlfriend."
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you'll get over it. But if the attachment was so strong, you know what I mean? It's not just gonna break off like that. And the healing is a very slow process. Some people never heal. Some people, people say time will heal. Yes, time will make the pain lesser, but the pain always gonna be there. If that person really means something to you, something happens from the past, or you've been to a place where you used to go together, that triggers that pain again.
Yeah, it keeps
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of this has happened to me as well. Like my personal experience is sometimes to survive. Okay, so you lost someone. I've lost people who are very close to me. Okay, to survive and to get over that pain, this is not a healthy way. But what I did was disconnect from the pain, not heal. I realized I'm not gonna heal. Okay, so I actually disconnected myself from that pain. Somehow you trick yourself and you disconnect.
So you trick your mind that you don't feel anything. Is that what you mean by disconnect from the pain?
You know the pain is there.
Yeah.
And every time you connect with that pain, it just becomes immensely emotional.
Yeah.
Okay? I just can't bear it. And the survival instinct kicks in the sense you gotta survive somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you make this a habit that you just somehow disassociate. But every time something happens from that particular context, you reconnect and you feel that immense pain again, and you realize, hang on, I haven't really healed.
Yeah.
I've just disconnected myself. But the more healthy way to do it is talk again. And this is what I always, when I'm talking about mental health, say, don't keep it in. Any issues, bring it out, especially when you're depressed. Talk to someone very close to you, whether it's your family members or your friend. If you're very, close kind of person, don't want to share with your family and friends, go and see a psychologist. All psychologists do is sit there and listen to you. And because you're not, we call it the bucket overflow. Constantly putting it in, and one day it just bursts ugly.
Yeah. I think why people don't talk about their mental condition is I feel they are very ashamed. First of all, especially in men as well. Men don't need to go through breakups. It's like if you're depressed, your friends say like, "What's up with you, man? Like, get a beer, you get over it." But it's not that easy, Like we have a lot of emotional attachment with certain things, and if certain things don't work out that way, we tend to be depressed. And talking really helps. And I feel, as you said, time heals as well. Time lessens the pain. Personally, in my experience, I was given an advice, just take time. It's not gonna happen all the time. What pain you're feeling right now, it's not gonna because during that moment you feel like, this is how life is going to be. You're depressed, you don't feel like working, you don't feel like eating, you're losing weight, you lost interest in things you really love to do. But you just need to be aware that that certain time is, all that's happening, and over time it will get better.
Yeah. What I say normally, again, is from my personal experience, sounds like you've been through depression as well.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I've been.
I'm proud of it.
Hey, look, there's no shame.
Yes.
There is this stigma we need to take it away, and especially not just in our Nepalese culture. I mean, Nepali culture matra हैन कि in Australia पनि there is this tendency as a man. I'll say a couple of things here. I really wanna.
I think you are a psychologist because you read my mind. You must have been in depression. Okay.
People who's been to depression, I've been to depression as well.
Yeah.
You can tell. I can look at someone's post, Facebook post, and I can tell where this person been. And especially when you study human behavior.
Yeah.
I can normally talk to a person for 15 minutes, and I can even say when someone is saying something. And this is from a lot of experience, and all that. Where this person coming from, where this person is going. Now, on that note of time heals. Okay, time does heals lesson, but you still have to do some work. Okay, the way I would say is, the pain is there, right? So what you do is every time you connect with your pain. In the beginning, when you just separated with the person, something happened, whether you lost your person or or passed away. That pain is very intense. Okay, you just feel like you need a drink, or you need to just sleep it out. You just don't want to face the world. You just want to sleep. And depressed people sleep for a whole weekend.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes from Monday to they will get up on Friday. They will just wake up for food or water or go to the toilet, back to sleep, and they don't want to be bothered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way it really worked, with a lot of people I know and with myself as well, is you connect with your pain every time during the course. Okay. And you realize, hang on, I'm connecting to my pain, but it's not so intense anymore. And you still are grounded. You're not doing some stupid stuff, drinking or smoking and all that. At one point in my life, I was smoking every 5 minutes. Okay. Now, I'm healthy. Now I'm,
That's where I want to go as well. I feel you have that mental capacity to, discipline yourself. I think you're a highly disciplined individual. And I see you working out, or you're doing things that you like, but it's very difficult for someone, personally for myself as well. I try to work out, but I go gym 1 week, 2 weeks, after that it's really hard for me to keep that cycle up. Is there any advice you'd like to give someone who is highly indisciplined?
As in anything with life, discipline is the key. People say motivation, but I say more than motivation, discipline is important. Motivation gets you started. Okay, I want to go to gym. I want to get it. You're all motivated. You go and join and pay all the membership. But most of the people, after they're paying membership, the first 3 weeks all excited, and I want to go gym and all that. And after 3 weeks, slowly they will forget. They'll never go to the gym again. So discipline is key. Somehow you just have to be disciplined with anything you do. Whether you want to, anything, you want to achieve anything in life, you have to have discipline. Discipline and hard work is almost it. There's nothing gonna happen overnight.
How do you keep yourself disciplined? Do you have any tips and tricks you follow?
See, even for people who are in depression, I always say this again. With depression, we know that. You don't feel like you said, you do not feel like doing all the activities you do. I enjoy sports. I still play sports. But I remember when I was kind of depressed, I didn't want to play sports, and I didn't play soccer, I didn't play cricket, but then I read a lot on how to get out of it. Physiologically, when there are a lot of good, we call it the feel-good chemicals in our brain.
Dopamine?
Dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, all those kind of feel-good hormones, like the same chemicals that get released when you have an ice cream or chocolate, or have sex, same feel-good chemical.
Yeah.
Those chemicals you can release when you do exercise, any form of exercise. So say you're feeling depressed, you don't want to get up. Push yourself to get out of bed, even for just 15 minutes. If you don't want to go to the gym, it's too much effort, just jump.
Yeah.
Just on the, just on your lounge room. Just jump for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
automatically those chemicals will be released, and automatically you feel good at least for the next couple hours. It's not a long-term solution, but at least it will get you going. For 2 hours, you're gonna feel good, because all the oxytocin, all the serotonin, those kind of dopamine is being released in your brain. So you can trick your brain to feel good, to get out of depression for a couple hours. That's one way to do it. In the longer run, and if you discipline yourself, you don't have to go to gym. Just whatever, at home you can do a lot. You go for a jog, and it just the habit forms if you do it for 3 weeks. Push yourself for 3 weeks, the habit will form. So that's how it is. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think we need to tame our brain as well, because I feel as human, brain wants to keep us safe and wants us to not try new things or go to gym and waste energy perhaps, because as humans we were living in caves and we had to keep as much energy as possible, eat as much food as possible, be safe, and make babies. That's it. Like if we had to have sex, we wouldn't be tired, but if we were to go to the gym, we would be tired, because that's all how our brain works. We just want to make babies, and we want to continue our species.
I mean, look, you made a good point there, is to conserve energy, and this is from a lot of literatures I've read, research papers. When you're depressed, the body realizes, hang on, the body, this person is going into depression, I need to conserve the energy. So you realize that when people go fat, depressed, they get fatter, okay? Because even the thing is with stress, right? When you're stressed, there is a chemical called cortisol is released, okay? The cortisol is very harmful to your body, internal organs. It destroys your internal organs, just in a nutshell talking about it, So it's very important not to stress as well, because when you stress, when you depress, you don't lose the fats, So it's very, even if you go in gym, you're doing all dieting, the normal loss of fat doesn't happen. And that's why you see when people are depressed, they're actually binge eating and all that.
Unhealthy,
and sleeping and all that. So it is like you said, when depression, there is a lot of those things in play.
Okay, great. Moving forward to our next segment, just to easen things up, we have something called rapid fire, where we ask you a bunch of questions and you have very limited time to answer.
I know what it is.
Okay, and it's got to be quick. Okay. All right. We'll start with the first question. It's usually how I start. What color is your toothbrush?
White at the moment.
Okay. What is your favorite summer activity?
Swimming at the beach.
Swimming at the beach.
It's beach or anywhere in the ocean.
What's your favorite stroke when you're swimming?
Just ease. I just like to lie there. I do meditation, and I find in water, especially in the ocean, I can just lie down and just float and meditate.
I heard there's a type of meditation where you're just floating on the water and just getting lost.
I do that. I enjoy that.
That's cool. Are you a morning or a night person?
At the moment, I'm more a night person, to be honest.
Okay.
But that's another thing I'm working on. I want to get up at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Okay,
that's cool. Who is your favorite superhero?
Good question, actually, to be honest. Superhero. Don't really have, to be honest. I like to keep it to someone more real, in real life.
Okay, is there an idol you really like?
I do follow a few mentors online, like Gary Vee and all those people, but not really.
Who is it? Is there a specific one that you really admire?
To be honest, I like Sadhguru. To be honest, I really can relate to him, and he makes it relatable. The way he explains things. Makes very sense. A lot of my answers I've got from Sadhguru.
Okay. What is your biggest addiction?
My biggest addiction is I play sports. I love sports. Sports is like meditation to me again. I can forget about everything, every stress, doesn't matter what I'm in. When I'm playing cricket, I'm batting, or I'm playing soccer. or tennis, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite sport?
Cricket and tennis, I would say. Yeah.
Cricket and tennis. Yeah. Okay. Is there any cricket team that you?
Yeah, I play for
like?
club. I've been playing for 25 years in Australia for club. Yeah, I
Okay.
play second grade, first grade. Yeah.
What is your specialty? Are you?
I'm an open batsman. Yeah.
Opener. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I
nice.
can't bowl.
Can't bowl.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I'm more of a spinner. You know.
Off spin or leg spin?
Off spin,
Yeah.
but mostly it goes wide. So I try to do leg spin. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
all right, yeah.
yeah. Maybe I should take training from you. You know,
Yeah.
you can bat and I can do my off spin.
Yeah, come over. I've got a trainer. Yeah, once a week.
train,
We already started.
Oh, where do you train, by the way?
Where I live, Kiama. Yeah,
Ah,
I play
okay,
for
yeah.
Kiama down there. Yeah,
Okay,
for the club. Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. Last question. What celebrity annoys you the most? Sorry, which celebrity annoys you the most?
If you say Donald Trump, probably Donald Trump. I
No.
find whenever he's speaking, I feel like stand-up comedy, to be honest. Literally, yeah.
And he's running a country. How cool is that?
Yeah. I mean, look, I've been to US many times, and there's like there's US also is a great country. There's a lot of nice places. People are also there. People who are nice in every country. I
Yeah.
travel a lot. That's another passion of mine.
Yeah.
Like I just came back from outback. From Darwin to
Mhm.
Adelaide and all that. So any spare time I get, I just travel. And I travel very simple.
Yeah.
So yeah, all those kind of things. And with Donald Trump, I get to laugh. If I'm feeling a bit down,
Yeah.
you can always listen.
Turn on
Yeah, he has
Donald
no
Trump.
clue, but it's fun to listen. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, moving forward
Yeah.
to our current topics. A lot of industry has been highly impacted with COVID,
Yep.
which is very uncertain.
Yeah.
And I believe one of the industry that hasn't been much impacted is IT. I believe people, now can feel how important technology is and how important IT is. And I think. Obviously COVID has a good thing and a bad thing, but good thing is that it has inclined more towards technology and how important it could be. Having said that, you are coming from a educational background. Do you reckon Australian educational industry could bounce back to its usual state before COVID was?
It has to. Like you can ask me anything about Australia. In most of the Australian topics, I can tell you a lot. If you ask me about Nepal, I have no clue because it's not a good thing, but I've kind of somehow, been here 25 years. I've kind of disassociated.
Mm-hmm.
In Australia, okay, the education industry, which we say international education, is a 33 billion industry. It's the second largest income earner for Australia. Okay. It's not nice when we hear on newspaper, the mainstream newspaper in Australia, the Australian government actually sees the international student as in at least dune guy, kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You pay the big sum for tuition fees, and the Australian enjoys to study that for free. If not free, then in a like we got Pels and Hex loan scheme where we don't need to pay. I can study whatever I want, okay? And I don't need to pay until I start earning certain sum in future, and that also I pay through my tax. And if I don't work, I never pay back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we call it cascade. So Australian government, in Australia, the first income earner is the mining. But the mining prices is really down. The mining industry is not doing well.
Going low.
So the second industry obviously is international education.
More than tourism?
Yep. The second income earner is international education.
Okay.
So hence it will go back to norm because currently Australia is in recession. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the last 2 consecutive quarters we've gone in red, negative GDP. So obviously Australian government needs money, especially in the way the government is giving out cash to local people like job seeker, job keeper. You heard all that.
Yeah.
we can't pay like that. The
Yeah.
money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
The treasury is, it's
I think it's busted
yeah,
out.
it's busted out.
Yeah.
And in the sense, if you understand the global economy,
Yeah.
if Australia's economy goes down, our rating in the world also goes down. In terms of, Australian banks has to go and borrow money from somewhere else,
Yeah.
in the US, in wholesale,
Yeah.
and it's all based on rating. So Australian government will soon have to do something, and
Yeah.
I think we're going to see uptick, but it's not going to happen probably end of 2021, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So you think it'll take about a year to?
At least a year. I read a newspaper, one article today. It might take up to 3 years for the unemployment to get back to prior COVID. But
3 years.
At least 3 years.
But do you think, with a lot of unemployment and more strict migration rules, now PR is getting even stricter and stricter. I believe it's going to get even worse now. Do you reckon people will, opt for Australia?
Look, having done migration law, I used to practice migration law myself, but I don't do it now because of stress and everything. I let other people in the company do it, But I'm still in tune with what's happening with the migration law and everything, so I'm aware of what's happening. I always give this advice to our young generation, okay? Everyone talk about PR. PR should not be the focus. PR is just a license to live here. That's not gonna make really your life. That's great. The focus should be happiness. Because if it's PR, or buying a new car, or buying whatever, what we're really looking at is behind that is that happiness and contentment. That should be the focus. Follow your passion, whatever you want to study. Follow. You don't want to study something. You get PR and then you're working in that job and you hate it every day. You don't want that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you follow your passion, you will get PR. Whether it's in Australia or Canada or some other places. If it's in demand, it's all about demand and supply. There's no point in Australia we giving PR to certain skill set people which has no demand. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It has to be demand and supply.
Yeah.
If you study something that's in demand, at the same time you are also it's not your first preference in terms of passion, but it's in your second list. Do something like that. Don't do something that's outrageously, that's never going to work in that field just for PR. That will just lead you, I can guarantee you, to frustration and down depression.
100%.
And depression in this country is 49.5%.
Wow.
People in Australia go through depression at some point in life.
Okay.
So that basically means what is normal, a depressed person or undepressed person? It is 49.5%.
Yeah, okay.
And what this highlights is, you got PR, but you also choosing a country in a Western country where you or your wife gonna go through depression at some point of your life, even after PR and citizenship. Okay, and if you look at the divorce rate or separation rate, here is 1.3 out of 3 people separate after divorce after 7 years. Okay, which means if you have 2 kids in this country, it's very likely 1 kid will divorce. Okay, so think clearly why you wanna really choose PR in this country. Just because PR are not going to make life great, okay? If you from a family where is well off, in terms of you can get a husband or wife can find a job, say back in Nepal, and you got a house already paid off, you probably have a car and all that, in Nepal you can buy a car these days cheap, and you each one got a job and you can sort of value that family bond. You value being close to your relatives. Like I in 25 years myself, I miss so much, in life. So don't just think PR. Think also at the back of my mind. Maybe it's not bad. If I don't get PR, I can go back to my country. And, do something. You'll be happier. I'll guarantee you, from my experience, in terms of happiness, inner happiness, you'll be much happier in Nepal than being still in PR and citizen here in the long run. There's no doubt.
Okay, amazing. It's coming from you, having gone through all of that process.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, personally as well, when I got my PR, very happy. But then next day I had to pay the rent.
Yeah.
I had to go to the same job.
Yeah.
I was still cursing when I was getting out of my bed, because I didn't like my job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel people come here just to get PR, and they go to regional, and they do stuff they don't like, and I don't know what for. So very good point there. I would like to take more into philosophical rather than, let's say, historical questions. When you were here, how eminent was racism? Like, was a lot of racist people around when you were there, or has it changed here? Like,
that's a very good question, actually.
yeah.
Look, I am. I have always been a person, like especially when I was with IBM, we always say to ourselves, we are global citizen. Okay, because IBM has branches everywhere in the world, almost 150 countries. We're global citizens, and especially when you have Australian. One benefit, really distinct benefit for me to have Australian citizenship is the Australian passport allows you to travel freely. And being every traveler, I call myself traveler, not tourist, because I don't do tourist sitting when I travel. I just travel, and I wanna really connect with the people, local people, what they eat, how they live, when I go to anyway, and especially nowadays I like to go to more countries where they are very cultural, Vietnam, Philippines, Cambodia, all these kind of
Which
places.
is your favorite place you ever been to?
Well, at the moment, Philippines. Okay, it's just beautiful. I just been last year to Palawan. There's the water anywhere in the ocean is like a heated pool. I don't have to think twice. And like for the whole time I'm there, the ocean becomes, the Pacific Ocean, it becomes my backyard, literally. You get out of the room, literally jump in the ocean. It's like a heated pool. And the Philippines, it's like 1,000 islands. There's so many beautiful islands, and I like to go places where it's like a small island. You can rent a scooter, ride around, swim, meet locals, and being again aware into fitness and everything. I eat very simple.
Yeah.
Most of the time, barbecue stuff or some stuff like that. And I join local gym wherever I am.
Oh yeah, I saw one of your videos.
Yeah. And then it's really good way to connect with the local people, make friends in the gym and all that.
I think that's a common ground. Everyone is like getting fit, and you talk to them and how they live.
Yeah.
Is in Philippines like highly influenced by the Spanish? They were actually ruled over by Spanish.
Yeah, they are Catholic, and that comes from Roman Catholic, that's from Spanish things. Still you have churches and everything. They are,
really? Okay.
Catholic church, and they're all Catholic in the sense majority are Catholics, and all have English name, Catholic name, and they practice. It's good in the sense they are religious. They take it seriously. And going back to your country about question about racism, why I brought in travel thing is
I forgot about the question into traveling.
Why I brought into travel is there's been so many times I literally have breakfast here 10 o'clock. Lunchtime I'm in Singapore, or I'm in wherever, Thailand or whatever. Dinner I'm probably in India or Nepal. So in one day I'm experiencing 3 different places.
Here in Sydney?
No, I leave Sydney, you fly Cathay Pacific. 10 o'clock here, you fly in the morning.
Yeah.
Lunchtime, 1 or 2 o'clock, you're in Singapore, Hong Kong or somewhere. And dinner time, you're in India or somewhere.
Yeah.
In one day, you're in 3 different countries. Okay?
Yep.
So for me, all this fuss about color and all these things, culture, literally, the world is so small, literally, in today's terms. We can fly from one place to another like that, Racism in the sense, actually, to be honest, because there were so many, in terms of like my color, people in Australia, we were considered exotic. To be honest,
really?
It was really good in the sense when we
should have come earlier.
When we used to go
when
we used to go to the bar and club, it wasn't hard for us to pick up girls. Put it this way.
We missed out, guys. We missed out.
We were exotic people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, so it was
I don't think it works now, because we've tried.
look,
No longer exotic.
No longer exotic.
look, I still think, again, I do relationship counseling. I say, it doesn't matter. You can really, if you're into, the main thing is confidence. Doesn't matter. You don't need to worry where you're from, what you look like. If you're confident, you've seen a lot of girls, beautiful, good-looking girls, with a guy, very average-looking guy. You think, how did he manage that? It's all about confidence,
But when you go and talk to them, they're like, that guy is so confident and he's like outspoken, and then you realize, maybe that's why she's attracted to him. It's his personality.
Yeah, it's personality, and you have to think from a woman's perspective. Any good-looking women have at least 40 or 50 guys chasing her.
Oh, yeah,
Facebook,
sure.
you probably have 1,000 waiting requests.
Waiting
what I mean?
list.
Girls knows they can do like that,
Oh, yeah,
and they can have a guy. Okay,
100%.
so they're in the power.
Yeah.
But then the guy comes along, where she feels like, I need to work for this guy. You suddenly in another
so again,
world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You think in the sense, hang on, all these guys run around me.
Yeah.
This guy really got that he's not giving me much of a thing.
Yeah.
You need to get into that position.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah, I think what's wrong with guys is like they go, all out into the girls, and they're like, I want you, I'm gonna try as hard as possible, but sometimes you gotta play with their mind as well.
It's reverse psychology. The biggest fear for guys is fear of rejection.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially when you see a very beautiful girl, they start thinking, this girl is out of my league.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to do something, and they can't even utter a word.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go and talk to the girl, their body language, because you have to understand, 92% or 93% of communication is non-verbal.
Yeah.
It's not about what you say; it's how you say it.
How you say it.
Same thing I say, or same thing you say can have a totally different impact.
Oh, 100%.
How you express yourself is all it matters.
And ladies tend to really, sense these stuff.
They have that third.
They have that third sense. Yeah, they're like it's tingling, and like when a confident guy comes over and like tries to have a chat with you, she knows like this guy is losing confidence. But if an average-looking guy, just really bold and does not matter any rejection, just goes out there, puts himself, and just speaks out, that's what's very attractive.
Yeah, very true. This is the thing. Again, I can combine it with racism and anything. Okay.
Yeah.
What I always like to say to our again younger generation is, we coming from Nepal बाट आएर we already नेपालको सबै कल्चर थाहा छ हामीलाई के गर्छौँ कसो गर्छौँ यहाँ says we are in a new country. Okay, learn everything ins and out of this country. Okay, you don't have to practice, but learn, expose yourself. If you're gonna work with all the Nepalese, if you're gonna live with all the Nepalese, if you're gonna study with all the Nepalese, when you're gonna interact with the locals, you can be here 15, 20 years, still have no clue. All your concept about Australian girls would be you see at the club, they are making out at the club. Well, this is what all the Australian girls are like. They're so easy. But try to go pick them up.
Yeah.
You realize that most of the Australian girls, to be honest, it's a very small portion, who will probably have a one-night stand. Okay? Majority, they are, if they like you, they don't care. They don't care who you are, what you do. That's
that's
non-important for them.
Yeah.
They just have to, they like you, and that's it. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to racism, again, I can connect with that. You do not need to think, I'm from a different background, and all that. Confidence has no boundary. Confidence doesn't see racism, And I always say there's only two kinds of people in the world.
I love it.
Man and a woman. That's all it matters,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where a man comes from, which part of the world, wherever the woman comes from. Yeah, there's some subtle differences, but in terms of hard wiring, there is a lot of similarities, When I say two kinds of people, yes, we have all the other genders obviously these days, but I'm just talking about men and women here and how the psychology works. And the racism, again, I have never felt the racism in this country.
Wow.
Again, I make this statement in the sense, when you are confident, when you speak with confidence, it doesn't matter who you are, in whatever settings you are, whether the whole seminar you have the local Australian people, when they see this person is confident, you can relate to them. Why I say expose yourself with the community, in the local community, is when you know ins and out, it's much easier to connect. And this will help you in your job interview as well.
100%.
So like if you're sitting in front of me, I am the interviewer, okay? And you are, you got PR and everything, citizenship, but you're in the interview with the local people now. You're competing, okay? And again, you have to understand when you talk about racism, in our country, Nepal, we have racism as well.
Oh yes.
I
think it's more than here.
More than here.
Yes.
At least here we have laws that people cannot directly discriminate against you. In Nepal, still we have people, like हाम्रो के भन्छ गाउँहरुमा दलित, and my heart goes out. आजको युगमा still people are treating another human like that. It just I cannot fathom this thing.
Not just that, there's a lot of nepotism as well in Nepal. Like आफ्नो हुन्छ नि कसैको फलानाले लगाउन ल्याउने, even if they're not qualified enough, I feel that is really not the case here. I feel you get equal chance, and that's what I really love about Australia.
Australia, we do have a fair go. If you are capable, you will get a chance. In any job. Imagine in Nepal, can that restaurant guy or in McDonald's who started as a kitchen hand at the back or whatever, any cafe or restaurant would ever be go and run that cafe one day, or even be a owner. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen. It happens in the very
rare.
Here we all started as a kitchen hand. I started as a kitchen hand, and we all can relate to that. Whatever position, we have done all kinds of positions here, cleaning, hotel, whatever. But then now we are being given opportunity. Yes, there is gonna be that discrimination on a subconscious level. In psychology, we can say we always relate to people from similar background, similar culture, similar looks. This happens on unconscious level. Okay, so yes, this is gonna be always there, but this is also in our own culture. Newar will always try to do something. Newar, what I mean? There is that on subconscious level. It is there. We can't do it. This is just part of human behavior.
Okay. I wonder why people act that way. Like they try to make groupism and try to favor people that are very much alike or come from the same backgrounds. It's very strange.
It's hardwired somehow. It's just the way it is. We cannot change that. The only thing we can do is be very mindful. Okay, even by not wanting to discriminate, we might be discriminating. So you've got to be very mindful. Hang on, am I in the subconscious level discriminating here? But I can tell you, in Australia, if you are in a position where you can relate to the general population here, the white population, the Anglo population, you understand their culture intimately. You're not in a disadvantaged position. You can always relate and have the same equal treatment, whether when you are approaching a girl, confidence play, when you're talking to other peers in the industry, in any industry. I can relate with local people so easily. All my teammates in my cricket, my soccer, everything, they're all local Australian people here. I never have issues. With the job, never have issues. But it all comes down to you insecure within you. It's easy to always point the finger. When you're pointing a finger, there's 3 or 4 fingers pointing towards you. Look at what weaknesses you have that you need to address.
100%. I feel coming to Australia, it's their country, they build it, and we got this fair go. Is I think we need to be very thankful for them. And imagine if we're in Nepal and कोही कहिले आएर हुन्छ नि हामीसँग काम गर्यो भने हामीले कति हेर्थ्यो होला उसलाई भन्नु हुन्छ
मधेसीहरूलाई they're selling in a hot day. I met fufuहरू न्यू रोडको हैन काठमाडौँमा, and we in the top and selling mangoes or whatever. just the way to treat me.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. कसरी भन्छ अनि त्यो वर्ड नै त्यो भैया भन्ने बित्तिकै भैया इज द्याट लाइक रियली ब्याड वर्ड लाइक हुन्छ नि ए भैया गरेर हामी जिस्काउँछ क्या लाइक द्याट्स लाइक या anyways we will move to a different question, and I feel we're coming to a close as well to an end. Is there any couple of words of motivation for youths who are currently in the process, and they might have just finished studies, or they might be still studying and they're trying to figure out what to do in life? There comes a point in every individual that you seem kind of lost, and you look at friends, especially in this age where you have social media, and you feel like people have figured it out, and they try to portray that as well. We never portray our hard times, but we always try to show what we have achieved. Yeah. And that plays a big impact in people who are watching them. Yeah. So is there, since you've gone through that process, would you like to give some motivation to those people?
Yeah, that's a very good question, to be honest. And I always say again, in social media, Instagram, Facebook, I have see all these international students, far out, they're having a great life compared to what we have, Far out, we were working like, I was working from 4 in the morning till bloody at least 10 or 11. I hardly used to get 3-4 hours sleep, running from one job to another, or go to college or university. And I see like they having that far out the kind of lifestyle in terms of going out to all these restaurants. They're not cheap, and all these iPhones. I still use iPhone 6s,
Yeah.
And I know I probably on 5 or 10 times more, but I'm still on the iPhone 6s. My car I drive simple, you know what I mean? I've never paid more than 10 grand for a car, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like to live modest, and I always say life is more about not gathering stuff, it's more about experiencing life. And I always also get this question from youngsters is, what is life? For me, life is more like the meaning you attach to it. It's up to you what meaning you want to give to your life. Nobody has really worked it out. Steve Jobs even, he worked it out only in his deathbed. Oh, hang on, all these billions of dollars mean nothing.
Yeah.
And I always say to a lot of my colleagues of my age is, everyone is so caught up with just making money, gathering that materialistic thing. There is not freight service when we live here. If you was a freight service, I'll also get some more. The important thing here, and as I said, have that confidence. Nobody has worked it out. I put a lot of posts, that on my lifestyle and everything. I haven't figured out everything myself as well. There, probably 80%, 90% I have figured it out.
I really loved your post, by the way. I was talking through your Facebook, and I actually copied it in my Insta story as well. So everyone's reaching Instagram on YouTube until you send them an invoice.
That's right. That's right.
That was really funny.
Yeah. Look, this all these like posts and everything. Why I actually started posting is I was trying to change certain of my weaknesses in my character. Okay. And like I said to you, the neural pathways I have set up, since I was born for the last 30 odd years, is like a superhighway. Now, when you want to change the behavior, there's only 2 ways you can do it. Either you can do it yourself, or you get a professional help, where you're guided by a psychotherapist, and there's a lot of different therapies you can work on. Or if you want to do it yourself, and I chose to do it myself, but also get some help from some psychotherapists, because I have a lot of friends in the psychology and all that. When you want to change a certain behavior, you say you are fighting with your girlfriend. Okay, I want to relate to a natural thing. You're fighting with a girlfriend, and you always come out some aggressive, and you say something really nasty to your girlfriend or your boyfriend for that matter. And you really say, no, I don't want to behave like this anymore. I do not want to react at the time when it's so intense. I rather respond. So the way I would do is, what I'll do is every time I get triggered, I would behave in a certain way. So in my case, it was more with could be work colleague or some friends or whatever, So what I would do is either I would just take a step back and respond rather than react. But to get to that point, what you have to do inside your brain is you creating a little alleyway, responding in a newer way. So over time, what happens is this alleyway becomes wider and faster every time you respond in a newer way. So it means you're reinforcing. So for me, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, what it did is every morning I would put that post in, which means I'm actually reinforcing my own behavior. Early in the morning, I'm reminding myself, and okay, I have to behave in this certain way. So initially it's gonna be tough. In the first few months, you would say, you read all this, okay, I'm gonna behave like this. Bang, you had the argument, bang, you behave in that same way. It took me 3 years just to change one slightest thing in my behavior. So eventually what happens, this alleyway becomes like a highway, and eventually you abandon this other highway, and this becomes autopilot. So every time it happens, you now respond in a new way. And that's how it is. So every time, this is why I say, you see a lot of domestic violence cases in the community. Nepali community, local Australian community, domestic violence. And the husband or boyfriend always say, look, give me one more chance. I would not behave. You mean so much to me. He has the right intention when he's saying he truly loves the girl, he truly cares about the girl, and he really wants to do something about his behavior. But he has no chance in hell to correct his behavior unless he goes gets professional help. Because first couple of weeks he will do it, then he gets used to it, bang, he's back to his normal. And that's why we see that. You go see a good psychotherapist. If you don't know anyone, come to me. I can give.
Can you hook them up?
Yeah, hook them up. I can point to, I can't give professional psychological opinion, but I can generally, whenever anyone comes, I have a lot of students who come and ask for help, and I direct them to the right direction, to the right people. Again, there is psychologists and there is psychologists. Some psychologists, you go to them, you cannot connect. Because you want to connect with someone who really cares. Some psychologists will go and say, okay, listen to this CD, do this meditation, that doesn't work. You really need to be that human-to-human touch.
What's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
Psychiatrists are more people who can actually do prescription medications. Okay. Psychologists are generally, unless you are a clinical psychologist, normally psychologists can just listen to your issues, and only if they think you're in imminent danger, they will, depending on the severe case, they will direct you to another, maybe psychotherapist or psychiatrist. And while I'm saying this, I just want to mention again, there is a good service like Lifeline, Headspace, Beyond Blue. Anyone, youngsters are feeling depressed, especially Lifeline, they open 24/7. When you call them, you get to speak to one of the counselors, and they'll just listen to you. If you're feeling like suicidal, and when you're depressed, we know almost 99.99% people have suicidal ideation thoughts. Whether you act on it or not, it just depends on the severity. Okay. So if you're in that point where you're feeling very suicidal and stuff, and you feel helpless, just pick up that phone, call Lifeline 131114. Okay. Or they have even a text service. You can text them. There is a number. You can go to Lifeline and some counselor will text you back if you're not comfortable speaking. And especially for our international students who are on student visa or any other visas, it doesn't affect your visa status or anything. Australians as well, myself or the local Australians, we all go through that phase. It's just we understand there is no stigma. You can talk openly, speak about your depression, share with your friends. It actually does much good to your health than worse. So I recommend the Lifeline highly.
I think just being able to identify that you need help and it's okay to be, getting help, because when you are sick physically, we go to a doctor, we take medication, we take Panadol, but mental health as important as physical health. There's not much people thinking we need that. These are for losers and something like that. But it's totally scientific.
That's the thing. When you mention that losers, what happens is our upbringing, and this is in Australia and this is in Nepal and all the in the cultural thing. I just want to finish on this note. Is when we brought up a man and a boy and a girl is brought very differently. If a girl falls over and cries, the father will go and try to sympathize the girl, don't cry. If a little boy, if whether in sports or just falls and scratches and stuff, the father will say, toughen up. You're a man.
Yeah.
So right from the get-go when you're a kid, this been put in your brain, consciously, unconsciously, that you're a man, you gotta toughen up.
Yeah.
And just life threw some little thing at you, you're just gonna curl up and cry. And we have this tendency, I can do it, I'm a man, and then it gets so, the bucket gets full and it's just gonna explode. And that's why women are so good in managing mental health compared to guys, because women are more social people. We're always talking with other women. We guys, we talk about other stuff about girls and things. But when it comes to our own personal issues,
we hide.
or in a relationship, we can't talk to our best friends.
True. Okay, thank you so much, Rajesh, for coming over and discussing all this important topic with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get to have you for another episode as well. I feel there's so much more to talk about.
Definitely. I wanted to talk more on the IT job market and opportunities. Maybe we can talk.
We can talk into another session. This has become more of a spiritual and more of a motivational talk, but nonetheless, I feel it has been very productive podcast. Thank you so much for coming over. And I would like to thank my production crew as well. We have our Kashyap at the back and we have Anurag Bhai. And with this, we want to sign off and hopefully see you back in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. All the best.
Get heard out and loud.